Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the series on me training for the Grandmaster title. This is episode number 8, and all these episodes, basically all of them, I'm playing 2 training games against my anonymous training partner who you think that I exposed in episode number 7, which I did not. I was mentioning that I played that opening against Theodoru in round 8 of Charlotte, the tournament that I just played. So some of you were emailing me, telling me that I doxed like my training partner. No, but I did break my lamp. My lamp is broken, so now only my lights are reflecting on me. But let's get into the games. It's game time, game number 1. I'm going to play c4 once again. Opponent plays knight f6. Let's go with knight c3. Now, there's obviously e6, e5, okay, g6. We could have a King's Indian with e4. That would be a transposition. I think I'll go for that. Yeah, looks like we're going to get a King's Indian defense. Now here I have a few weapons. I'm going to play h3 and then bishop to e3. This is a very common setup known as the Makogonov. Makagonov. I don't know. Don't ask. But c5. Okay, so now d5 is a move. So is knight f3 here. Is also a thing. I'm gonna play knight to f3. If cd4 just knight takes, also anything is covered on the g4 square. Against c5, you can also play d5. I believe knight f3 is completely fine though. And black's counterplay is associated with attacking the center somehow, usually some queen a5. But that's just met with queen d2. I always like these positions. I find them pretty pleasant for white. And the h3 pawn can actually be used as a bit of a boost for a kingside attack in the future. I haven't studied these positions for some time, but I know that they should be fine for white. Knight c6. Okay. Taking is silly. Maybe just develop a piece, and then if knight takes, just bishop takes, and then we chill. Also, rook c1 is a move. Bishop e2, queen a5 to pin me. I don't know. I don't really think that I need to overcomplicate anything. I think I'm just gonna play normal moves. And if rook c8 comes with some intended counterplay over here, then I can always play rook c1 and b3. So we might go for something which is called the kind of like a well, it's not how you say it. The folks always get mad at me, especially those who speak Hungarian. I think it's Hungarian, but I always say Maroxy. This is another idea to put some pressure on this e-pawn. I can play f3, which I mean, it just looks like a very decent move, but f3 there could be knight h5 to kind of go for my dark squares. So maybe queen c2 is a move to defend this, or just move my bishop. Or knight d5, but knight d5, knight e4. So if I move my knight, I stop guarding this. Queen c2 looks interesting. I'm assuming some knight d7 move is probably going to happen in the future. Yeah, let's go queen c2. I'm not thrilled about this move, but it's okay. Maybe b3, bring my rook. And, yeah, I didn't want to go f3. I felt a bit silly blocking in my bishop. This is a move that's very bad for black because it makes this pawn a backwards pawn, a pawn whose neighbors have kind of gone beyond it. And the square in front of it is really well controlled. So the pawn breaks for black are like this, and then maybe f5 in the future. If knight d7 occurs. If knight d7 occurs, we just trade the bishops. We should be okay. Or even slide the queen over to d2 to then take in the center with our queen. We have a very slight advantage, mostly because of our space. I have a hair, which is on my eyeglasses lens. Let's drink some water. Remember to stay hydrated, folks. Okay. So knight e4 doesn't work at all because we just play bishop takes g7, and on knight c3 we bring the bishop right back. Queen a5 is a normal looking move. a5. So a5 I don't really like because I don't exactly understand what my opponent wants. I mean, a4. Okay, I'm just gonna quickly go b3, I guess. I thought b5 was the way you go for counterplay in this kind of a structure. So now that I've completely shut down a4, I mean, opponent can still play it, like sacrifice a pawn and double my a pawns. And I might not even take. I might just push to try to play b5 and take queenside space. That's the other thing about these structures. You have a 3-on-2 potentially in the endgame, which is always nice. That's known as a queenside majority. It's a little bit strange because the d pawn could fight for the queenside. Like if this was a c pawn, structure would be symmetrical. But I don't know about a5. a5 seems a little odd, but it could be okay. At least this time, I remember the clocks. That's already an improvement from episode 7. I really think knight d7. Yeah, there's knight d7. I was sort of expecting this move. I can just probably take. I don't really need to think about it. And now we do need to think. So now we need to come up with a strategy. Attacking the king is one option. And then we would need to move out of the way of the incoming counterattack. The other option is to somehow transfer our queen back to the middle because it doesn't need to be here anymore. We can try to expand on the queen side with a3 and b4, which is a plan to try to play b5. It's definitely a plan. A3, queen b6, queen b2 lines up an attack. And then maybe b4 comes next. The queen could jump to d4, which is kind of unpleasant, actually. So maybe we begin with queen b2. Maybe we begin with queen b2 and go for a queenside expansion with the pawns. Or we just play f4. f4 is very much my style. I don't actually know how good it is, though. I have decided to begin with queen b2. I think this is a very useful move for both expanding and hitting the king. And I'm going to just kind of leave it on my opponent to decide what to do. Okay, he goes king g8. Now I'm really liking f4 and knight d5, a combo of these two moves, like knight d5 right away even maybe. But yeah, I got to think about exactly how the opponent wants to play this. So, okay, let's begin with a3 and try to play b4. So queen b6, b4, take. I'm not threatening anything, and the queen could... Well, no, I guess I am. I'm threatening to trap the bishop. Yeah, that's a threat. That's a pretty legitimate threat. I can take away the e5. I don't think the knight wants to go to e5, though. Like, I can take away that square with f4 and slide my king out of danger. Yeah, but that's the move that really opponent probably wants to play, right? Knight c5 attacking e4. So, b4... There's nothing. I mean, doesn't make sense to sack that. If I play f3, then queen b6 is very strong. Oh man, do I really have to play this move again? Going back to c2? I guess I have queen b1. Queen b1 looks a little bit stupid, though. I have bishop f3. I really don't want to play bishop f3, but I might not have a choice. b4, b4, knight e4, b5, knight c3. Yeah, this is just silly. There is nothing there. I'm just going to lose a pawn. Yikes. Not good for me. I mean, not like bad, but not clean. And if I play queen c2, there could even be this move. Oh, man. Getting kind of frustrated with myself. Okay, I'm gonna play queen c2. Yeah, I'm not thrilled. I don't know what I guess a3 before was too slow of a plan. Not really thrilled. But I'm not like worse yet. The good thing about playing with white is that sometimes if you screw up, you can still be okay. You can just be in an equal position rather than being worse. Whereas if you screw up with black, could be trouble. So here's rook b1, not a move I'm thrilled about. And I would expect this to be coming. I'm not really worried about that trade, though. Like, if I play king h1, I also have knight d5. Bishop takes, pawn takes. Yeah, what about this? So I'll take with the E pawn, right? Because if I take with the C pawn, it opens the C file, which I don't think I like. So we can make this trade, and we might get something known as a heavy piece endgame, potentially, which could be interesting. Which could be queens and rooks and structure. So knight d5. If opponent doesn't want that, opponent can play queen d8 and defend d7, because you have to move the queen to that square. But queen d8 looks really bad, so yeah, you probably have to take. And then the question is, what do you do with your knight? Do you trade for my bishop, or do you try to just keep the knight around? Because knight versus bishop means that black will have some dominance on the dark squares, but as long as I have just enough fight for the right squares, I'll be in good shape. Like, these two squares I really need to win the battle on, either with b4 or rook d1 or something. Because my bishop will not be very strong unless I find it some activity. So, anyway, for the remainder of the game, I also would like to speed up a little bit. And trust my instincts a bit more. So I don't exactly know what the best move is. I think I'm just going to go queen d3. I am anticipating this is captured. Like, if I went to e4, there's no real threat. So I might try to do this next. So what I was talking about is whether or not my opponent is going to make this trade. So if they don't, they're going to have to invest in the move e5, and they're going to have to be 100% sure that is going to work. Because if I can take en passant and somehow remove that knight, I'll be in good shape. But I don't see a way. You know, e5, take, like f takes, put the next pawn here. I don't fully believe in it for black, but I don't necessarily see a way I can get rid of the knight right off the bat. Like, b4 is interesting to try to create some counterplay, but I don't see something immediately, and there it is. So now it's decision time. Do I take en passant or not? I know Anarchy Chess might be watching. If I don't take, that knight is going to be a bit too strong. Let's take. And then let's play probably king h1, because we want to play f4. That's a very important move for me. f4 to fight against e5. If I can trade fe, de to leave those two things in the center, that knight is stable, but that pawn could be unstable. And I'm going to start expanding my queen side, like b4 very soon. Or now. I mean, b4 right now, maybe not, but very soon. b4 take. I mean, I like f4, but it doesn't quite work right now. Bishop g4 is an idea. I'm going to do this. AB, rook a2. I think blunders c5 with queen c4 ideas on this diagonal. So rook, don't I have c5 here? Like this? That, I mean, there might be some way to, like, queen a6. Oh no, then I just take it. Then I take it, and then I have bishop c4. So, yeah, he might have blundered that. I mean, yeah, well, he had to definitely look at c5, because it's max danger. Like, you gotta be able to take a quick look at c5 for yourself. If he takes this, this diagonal is open. But yeah, he does have queen a7. It's not over. Queen c4, king h8. That still hangs. Kind of underestimated this move. This absurd move over here. Wow. If I go bishop, yeah, okay, I'm gonna go bishop g4 because I mean, otherwise I lose my bishop, and I think the threat is bishop e6 or not. I mean, I understand the knight is there, but just that's kind of the vague idea. h5, of course, loses to queen takes g6. If my opponent takes on f2, we take, and then I take this pawn. And then if this pawn takes, then I take, and then I'm open. So this is the danger, actually, of playing in a position of bishop for knight where you just rely on your knight to completely be stabilized in the middle like this. And I can use my pawns to break apart the defense. So it's a really complex position. I'm inclined to think that white is definitely better because it's such an open board. I've got a bishop, and black's entire position is right now being held together by a knight that's just right in the middle of the board. And also, the king is weaker. The king is weaker. So black has more active pieces, technically. All of black's pieces are sort of out and about. But I think the value of my queen versus this queen, like even though this rook is not active, it's serving a role. I think the king's safety, and I think the pawn structure right now is heavily in my favor. It's probably... Oh, that would have been tragic. Oh my god, I almost pre-moved that. So, I don't know. Plus 0.6, 0.7, maybe more if the computer sees tactics for me, and I'm happy that I'm keeping up on the clock. 1.5 minute advantage. I've been trying to keep my upper back on my chair for posture, because I'm playing these games at 6 p.m., so I'm pretty tired. And so the more tired I get, obviously your posture gives. So he's thinking a long time. D5. That's an interesting move. Okay. So if F4 to try to remove the defender, rook A3 maybe? Is that going to happen to attack my queen? What if I just go all the way back? Get out of danger. There might be an H5 moment, but then I can play FE5. Rook F1, Queen F1. Oh, but then HG. So F4, Rook A3, Queen D1, H5. I mean, I have Bishop E6, Knight E6, and Queen D5, but why would I do that? That doesn't look very kosher. Although, yeah, let's go F4. So this is obviously going to happen. There's nothing else. There is nothing else. I mean, you know what the alternative on H5 is? I can just go back to F3. That's what it is. That is very nice. So Rook A3, Queen D1, and then a move that you don't really want to play, which is this. Because if push, I take the knight. And then if knight F3, I have queen takes D5. So again, the unstable center here, making things very tough for black. I don't know what my opponent is thinking about. Is there anything besides Rook A3? Yeah. So Queen D1? Maybe Queen D2? Maybe Queen D2. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe Queen D2. But I didn't see anything. Oh, Queen D2, Rook A2 is why I didn't play it. Because I'm going back to D1 so that the rook doesn't hit me again. Whoa, Queen B8. I did not see that. FE5, Rook F1, Queen F1, Queen E5, and then I have Rook E1, but then there's Rook E3. Okay, fair enough, fair enough. I mean, I can just expand. This rook is a bit loose. Okay, okay, okay. It's a game right here. I also have Bishop E6 again. I'm looking for that sacrifice, but I don't know how smart it is. It's probably not very smart. So what about take Rook F1, Queen F1, takes Rook E1, Rook E3, Rook over back to A1 to try to go to the back rank. Oh, this is so complicated. This is so complicated. And I need to maintain some clock advantage. What about Rook A1 right away? Or B5. Man, I don't know. It's so complex out here. I'm just going to go B5. I don't know. I'm just going to go B5. I'm going to gain a little space because I think nothing has changed. There's still some tension. And if I can somehow force through a passed pawn there... And now another idea I have is I can move my bishop in and push. And I can team my bishop up with my pawn, which could be interesting. And I could have rook b4. I mostly played that move to maintain the clock advantage. I was not sure between b5, this, and fe. But again, what happens is we get too low into the time, and then stupid stuff happens. So I got my 1 minute time advantage, which is big when it's 3-2, and I gotta stay focused. So h5, I'm going in probably, or bishop back to f3 to hit this. I'm expecting queen c7 to hit my c-pawn, although I'm not sure how much of a threat it is. And queen c7, I could even go c6 and b6 and just shove it down and invest fully in the pawn. Okay, so fe, rook f1, queen f1, take c6, and then just go all in. Just go all in over there. But, or not. Or just stay patient. Okay, I do believe in opening the position now. Now I think opening the position is good. It just makes sense. I've got 2 pawns. Man, c6, b6. c6 takes b6. If the rook goes back, b7, rook b8. I don't that I'm not sure I want to invest in just yet, but maybe it works. Okay. Let's focus. There's always knight f5 and knight e2 stuff. Could go for a quick queen f2 with the idea to play rook e1. Queen f2, some knight f5 business. I take it. I'm going to play queen f2. I see no way to attack my queen. Did I blunder knight b5? Rook b5 and some back rank stuff? Oh my god. Knight b5 is gross. Maybe I have rook... No. I have rook e1. Yeah, so now I'm stopping rook e3. And if the queen trade, that's the question. Do I trade the queens? Take, c6, boom, b6. And just get in there. That looks pretty damn close to winning. There's that. I expected this move. Do I take it? Knight g3, king g1. How scary is that? Do I just go c6 and I say I don't care? King g1. Or do I take on f5, take c6, and just shove it forward? Take. I can also maybe just get the open file, but... Oh, I have rook d1 at the end, maybe. So bishop f5, and then I have rook d1, rook c3, rook d5, or rook b3, b6. Yeah, I'm going to do this. Queen f5. No. This doesn't work because I have rook d1. This should be winning for me now. If I can get this and keep these together, like rook c3, rook d5... Oh, did I blunder rook a5? Oh my god, I blundered rook a5. Oh, he missed it. Oh my gosh. Damn, that was... This is the whole idea. To play b6 and then... Oh my god, rook a5 would have been brutal. But rook a5, maybe rook b1. I simplified it too fast. I'm actually pretty frustrated about that. But rook a5 I could have taken and taken. So I'm always getting 2 pawns. That's the good thing here. Is that I'm always getting 2 pawns. Maybe I'm too hard on myself, and I'm keeping my 1 minute time advantage, which I really do like. If I win d5, I should be able to give a check and then win the b pawn, and if I win both, then I'm good. And no back rank problems, because on move 5, we played the move h3. So, yeah. This felt clean. This is feeling like a good game. As long as rook a5 wasn't blundered, I'm feeling pretty sharp right now, which is good. Always exciting to play good chess. We're gonna take, okay, probably rook d6. And if king f7, then this. If this, then this. I think, right? Should be. And then we pick up 2 more pawns. And if king e7, then probably rook h6, and we take with check. He's getting active, getting hostile. Okay. He's probably gonna win the pawn, so... We're going to play this. He's going to go rook c3. I can also play rook c7 and try to play c6, but that's kind of dumb. The question is, where do I want my rook to end up? And I think I want it to end up not in front of the pawn. So, yeah. So I think I want to take this first, and then this. And I want to play... b7, right? Or rook h5. No. What am I doing? b7. Now we breathe. And king h2. So there is no nonsense. And now we can push our pawn here. Probably, right? That seems reasonable. And we just push the h-pawn. Now, the only counterplay here is going to be to put the pawn on f3. We need to be a little bit vigilant. Just a little bit vigilant. But I think we should be okay. We have h4, f4, and maybe king h3, but then rook b3. This h6, f... Okay, well that... Yeah, that was to be expected. I mean, I don't know. Rook c7 seems reasonable. Maybe I can slowly bring my pieces. Maybe another way to win this is just to run my king. That also, like king g3. And then king f4. Just don't lose your stuff there. I don't know. Gotta think about this. If king h3, rook b3, here. I mean, of course it's winning. Question is, I'm just gonna do this. I'm gonna run my king this way. I think this is the way to do it. Just run my king to the pawn. That's actually a decent move. Let's go king f3. They can't take, obviously. Can't take. Just gonna run. Just gonna run. If king h5, I can even go king e3, because king h4... Okay, so... Clearly I have convinced my opponent that the strategy is not going to work. So let's just run the king all the way. I mean, at this point, might as well, right? Maybe g3 is always good, though, to prevent just the pawn from coming forward. Well, he's got 20 seconds, so... Probably should just be winning. King d3, king h5, king c3. Rook goes down. Yeah, let's play g3 to hold it all. And then we're just going to run. Okay. So I have king f4 now, probably. Yeah, now I have king f4, which is a difference. So I can hit the pawn. And I'm just going to keep on walking. Because this is never possible. So king d6 or king d4? What are we trying to do here? King d4 or king d6? I think king d6 to try to get the c6 is just easily winning. King h5, check, king c6, yeah. By the time the opponent gets to the g-pawn, it's just going to be lost. So even, actually, I can even just go this way, and that's an easy win. Just king c8 and b8, and we get the win. There's not enough time for counterplay. Just not enough time. It takes way too long, and by then I'll play king c8 and b8 queen. So this game was very, very intense. It begins with a King's Indian defense. There are many, many setups that you can employ against the King's Indian. I used to play this double bishop setup, which is called the semi-Averbach. The main Averbach is bishop g5 with bishop to e2. Every system has a lot of merit. The classical King's Indian with knight to f3 is very good. There is obviously like knight f3 and bishop e3, which also has a name which I don't exactly remember. This is Makagonov, and basically the main idea of this system is that when black plays the standard King's Indian break e5, you lock the structure, and this knight doesn't go to the traditional square of f3. Black will then try to put this knight on c5. Wow, those were some stupid-looking arrows. And I will play g4, knight e2, knight g3. The knight actually in this system stands on g3 to counteract the standard break f5 and also support the expansion on the king side like this. Very interesting system. I like it a lot. Black is definitely okay in this system, but my opponent goes for c5. c5 is the other break of the King's Indian. And c5, in my opinion, leads to some pretty depressing positions because I can basically play just normal chess, and this now kind of feels like a Sicilian defense because e4 was played, and it looks like the c-pawn got traded for the d-pawn, right? So if we look at the structure of the position, which is why I always talk about the structures, the pawn structures, it looks like I played e4 and knight f3 in the beginning of the game, and opponent played c5 and then took. So it kind of looks like a Sicilian. Now, everything that I described during the game was actually fine. a5 actually turns out to be a totally okay move. I was surprised by this move. But I guess the opponent really needs to prevent me from going b4. Like, for example, if he just plays knight d7 here, then I'm going to go take b4, which was my plan during the game, to play b4 and take queenside space and fight against this bishop. That's my one way of proving an advantage. So it turns out even though I was surprised by a5, I didn't think it was necessarily the best move. My reaction, b3 might even be a little bit too slow. Here the engine actually really likes this move. Just kind of a funny move. Like, you try to explain verbally to yourself why the computer suggests certain things. You know, sometimes you guys will be like, well, I like watching these episodes, but I don't learn a lot because the level is too high. Well, here's a great example. Why does the engine like this move? Well, it wants to not trade bishops. It actually thinks that my bishop is worth keeping versus trading on g7. That's one of the things. But what I actually completely messed up in this position is queen b2 right away is not a very good move, because, or rather, queen b2 and this plan in this order is wrong, and the engine actually likes a3 first. Now, I didn't play a3 because I thought that queen b6 was kind of annoying, and then if I play queen b2, there could be this queen d4 move, which seems mildly unpleasant. And now, you know, even though I can attack the queen just hangs out and just totally counteracts me. Very active queen. I have no f4 move. I'm not in the business of trading the queens. Like, if I play rook b1 and then like this, I mean, I'm not going to have any advantage. So, yeah, I mean, I played it in this order, but now the opponent doesn't have to play queen b6 at all. You can just go knight c5, and now my pawn here is weak. And if I play f3, then of course I just lose. That just loses, because I'm going to hang this and this. Don't weaken your king. And the real problem is that I'm in a position where 4 out of my 6 pawns are on light squares with a light squared bishop. So it's kind of cramped. Now here, the computer for black recommends something really nice, actually. Very high level idea. An idea that looks completely counterintuitive, and black can get an advantage. Because clearly my plan is coming with b4. The engine here recommends e5, which just looks like a horrible weakening of the d5 square. But to complement the knight in the middle, you're trying to rotate the knight back and get it to d4. And you say, well, that's what happened in the game. Yeah, but in this move order, black doesn't give away anything. For example, if I play b4, knight e6, b5, I just expand, expand, expand. Actually, this is horrible for me, because even though it looks like I actually have some activity, this knight, the quality of this knight is significantly better than the quality of this knight, because this knight can get traded at any moment. I can't trade this knight with my bishop. I have to wait at its mercy. And you see this way, the center stays closed. In the game, the center opened up. That was the major problem, is that by trying to glue this knight in the middle, my opponent, it opened the position. And there's a lot of imbalance here as you try to desperately defend the knight in the center of the board. So I played king h1 to get off the center line, e3, e5, b4. Everything was good. It's a complicated game, relatively unclear position. Then opponent blunders c5. Now I'm better. I didn't play this super perfectly here. Machine, instead of my plan with bishop to g4, likes to give this check. It doesn't want to let black play d5. And then it wants this, which I would have never played. This looks like it accomplishes like absolutely nothing. But the idea is that you maintain the pressure on d6. f2 is not worth taking, because after this trade, this pawn just gets through, and I'm just much better. So yeah, I mean, but arranging your pieces like this is just, it's not very human. So I decided to go out here, and here I just thought I was winning, and I was. Actually, right up around there, everything I was saying was correct during the game. Queen b8. Now, here, with my 2-3 minutes on the clock, and I have to make kind of quick decisions, I misplayed. b5 on its own is actually a completely fine move, but I misevaluated, because I missed the idea of rook a5 hitting both of these pawns, which I actually thought was okay at the end of it, but no, it wasn't. Here, what I can do is I can take, which is what I did, but in this position, rather than slow playing with queen f2 and rook e1, which is what I thought I had to do, I have to use these pawns. I have a breakthrough here, takes, and I push. Now, he can not take, but then I'm just going to take him. And if he does, well, then this is just awful. So, what I should have done is I should have just broken through. Now, I got to this position in my head. I wasn't fully convinced. I was like, why am I sacrificing a pawn? Do I see an immediate win? There is no immediate win, actually. I have nowhere to enter. But this is what the computer likes. It likes rook e1, queen slides back, and then here, a move that I didn't really consider from a distance. I know this is always a thing, but I didn't really... It's bishop c8. This is a very famous, like, you put like a boot on the rook. It's just like, you put it in jail. Now the bishop and the pawn always protect each other, and the rook is completely stuck. And I did see this. I saw this idea, b7, bishop c8,
But I still didn't see a way in. Like, okay, so I get this. Where's my way in? Well, slowly but surely, apparently, you know, some queen f2, c5. Like, I have to slowly use my queen and rook. I didn't see an immediate win, so I decided it was not worth sacrificing the pawn with low time on the clock. The problem is knight f5 is a great move. And I thought that after knight f5, I'm winning in the rook endgame, but I'm not. So that's how chess works. Here, rook a5 is drawing. I thought that I was still better here, but there is b6, which is very tragic. And my rook has nowhere to escape from this pin, so this is just a draw. I mean, it's maybe mildly unpleasant for black, very mildly, because I can like cut off the king, but it's just a draw. But it wasn't a draw in the game, and we managed to win the rook endgame. This is, I think I won it pretty cleanly. It is instructive here that, you know, you guard your rook from a distance. You don't want to get your rook trapped behind the pawn. I took the pawns in a certain order, and then I just walked my king because this rook couldn't move. So relatively straightforward conversion. I just abandoned my pawns completely and walked my king to help my pawn. Let's go to game number 2.
d4. So last time I played knight f6, and I went for a Queen's Indian. This time I'm actually going to play, the Queen's Gambit accepted. I believe the opponent plays knight f3, e3, but I don't know. We might get an e3. Okay, we get e4. Play knight f6. This is a main line. Now e5, knight d5. I don't remember exactly how the theory goes here, but it's complex. There's a lot of variations here after e4, knight f6. Yeah, so there's e5, knight d5, and then you take on c4, and black plays against this wedge. It's actually a very interesting line, playing against this wedge. Yeah, so now knight to b6 attacks the bishop. Not necessary, but it's a question to be asked. Otherwise, the knight can kind of come under fire. So here you make the opponent commit a bishop square. And then in many positions, black plays against this blockade, like bishop f5, e6, knight c6, or just knight c6, e6, leaving this bishop for now, I think. Haven't reviewed these lines in a while, but they're very interesting and very fluid. Okay, bishop e2 is a move. Knight c6, knight f3, but that might give me bishop g4, which is an extra option, potentially. Okay, let's go knight c6, of course. If d5, I just take. So, knight f3 or bishop e3 are the two moves now. I guess you can also play bishop b5, which is stuff that your brain thinks about while you're playing. So yeah, I'm trying to decide, do I play bishop g4 or do I play bishop f5? Bishop f5, e6 looks, I mean, just painfully natural. But bishop g4 does create some pressure. Not really, because after bishop takes, I can't even take with my queen, since this is check. But I could just hang out. I mean, I could just hang out over here and terrorize. Give my opponent something to think about. Alternatively, I can just play bishop f5. So bishop g4, h3 takes, and if I don't take, what exactly is my purpose, right? What exactly is my purpose in life? Here, take, e6 to just wait around a little bit. I can take on d4 with the knight, but then bishop b7, rook b8. Bishop back to e4 potentially. I mean, it's not a bad position per se, but I'm just gonna go to f5 and then play e6. I don't know. I'm not gonna be so forcing. I don't need to be so forcing, is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking I can just plop a knight on d5 and play against the structure. We could create this to be a backwards pawn, so I don't know. I don't know why I need to go force the issue necessarily. Just e6. And then this pawn sort of will be in my sights the rest of the game. There's some blitz lines where you can castle queenside to attack this pawn. Seems a little bit too much, though. Just, I don't know. A little bit too much. But I'm just going to try to be solid. Right, of course, bishop e3. I mean, I can go bishop e7. Nothing complicated about the position just yet. a6 is always useful to prevent bishop b5. or anything from coming to b5. This is the only piece that's out of place. Of course, I can just put it back in the middle. h6 to just get away with the bishop if I ever need. Rook c1 is going to happen. And then, yeah, and then we're going to have to play. I mean, do I castle or do I immediately go knight b4, knight d5? The question. What do I do? Knight b4, rook c1, knight d5. The thing is, at some point, bishop d3 will probably happen. So for now, I think just short castle. Definitely you need to make this trade. My bishop is probably my best piece. Probably. So maybe just queen d7 even and just double up. I mean, I don't really know where exactly I'm rushing. I keep trying to create these like very forcing lines, but I think I can just let my opponent come to me. I mean, bishop d3, I don't know. Like I said, this rotation is good. Just putting the rook on d8 to add some more pressure to the middle looks pretty decent. I like my position, but probably the idea after bishop d3 is to go knight e4, knight c5. In general, if this knight can end up slowly making its way forward, I will be in some trouble because then I'll have to trade. White takes with the rook, could be some annoying pressure there. But I would imagine that is like one of the only game plans here. Another game plan could be to move the knight out of the middle and attack me with pawns, which kind of seems a bit far-fetched, but it could happen. It could happen. I don't fully believe in that plan, but it could happen. I don't believe in it because the second that you leave the center, I just go for the d4 weakness, right? So like the big battle in the middle is a big cluster of pieces. Could even be an idea to put a knight on c4, but that to get this bishop. Of course, the idea also exists here. The real question is, if I make that trade, one of those two pieces for that bishop, am I actually helping myself? Because that just opens the rook and makes the center really strong. But if I do move this knight, I have like c5 ideas. I can use my c-pawn to break apart the center. Okay, h3 strikes me as a bit of a waiting move. I can play h6. I can just return the ball to the court of my opponent. a6 is another. I mean, I doubt g4 is the idea. But I did just say an idea could be to attack me with the pawns. So maybe h6 actually isn't the stupidest thing ever. The real question is, like, if I play rook fd8, am I really happy? Or rook ad8, am I really happy? Where am I happier? While maintaining our time advantage, right? Part of the strategy. Let's go a6. I think a6 is useful. a6 does have the drawback of making my knight really unstable. So for example, okay, there's bishop d3. Ah, that was the idea of bishop d3, not wanting me to go to g4. But I never really had the idea to go to g4 in the first place. I was just going to make this trade. So that's kind of funny, I guess. Now, do I slide back and try to trade on my own terms? I think so. Let's trade on my terms to bolster my king's safety, so I don't just help you develop, so that, you know, my pawn can come here and that looks good. The more we trade, the more I can win control over d5 in all endgames. I don't like this because then your queen has some targets in the future, so not to mention I could, if I was edgy, take with the f-pawn and then open. Oh, I really wonder if the engine would like this move. I really wonder, but I'm gonna take with the h-pawn because I'm not edgy. But there is some knight e4 stuff here, so I gotta be a little careful. Could be some idea to attack my king. Could be more than some idea to attack my king. Could be a very legitimate idea to attack my king. Move the knight, slide over the queen slowly. Yeah. That seems a bit slow. Okay, so I know this is coming, right? I mean, I have to play knight d5. This trade is never going to happen. Opponent is going to play knight e4. Has to. Why is he thinking? He has to play knight e4. Yeah. And now is the question: Can I like lash out over here with f5, or is that too weakening? Take, pawn takes, knight to h4, knight c5. I'll probably just take it, right? Knight h4, f5, knight g6, fe, queen g4. Very messy position. Take, take, knight h4. I could just play some king f7 move, although, man, very, very weakening. f5. I don't know. I don't hate it, though. Knight g5 is a thing, but I have f4 and then knight takes on d4 and I'm winning. Yeah, I don't know. This could be nuts. This could be completely insane what I'm doing. But that's you know, that's the issue of the training game, is that it's not real elo. So you're definitely going to take some more risk. But it could pay off. Wow, not even knight h4, really? Just rook e1? I guess I can't go f5 because just this comes here. But okay, so rook f7 to slide over in the future. g5 is a move to block everything. Queen e8 to then play g5. f5, knight g5, f4. That's so committal. It's why I'm not so hyped about this move. f4, bishop d2. Bishop g5, knight g5, I have knight d4. But that just looks nuts. Like, why would you do that? It's way too weakening. It's way too weakening to play chess like that. But knight h4 is definitely coming. Like, I have to understand. That's probably going to happen. I think I got to play this move. I got to activate my rook so e6 has extra protection in some of these variations. I'm not certain, but it just feels correct to have this guarded. Like knight h... Wow, a3. a3? That just looks like a pass-back move. Like, now I'm starting to think about f5 again. I'm starting to maybe king g7. I'm starting to get a bit more excited about the position now. I just can't tell if that's the way I want to go. Or f5... Whew. Tough position. Okay, f5, f4. I keep calculating that I'm just gonna go king g7. Like, I don't think there is a need to just get so wild here, especially because now he's doing the reverse strategy. He's playing fast, which is making it really difficult for me to make good decisions because he's speeding up. I've spent a lot of time on the last few moves. I've got a decently weak king, but my position's sort of ready to roll forward. I'm not playing b6 to stop knight c5 because my c6 knight gets unstable. So I'm just going to snap. I'm not really afraid of that. I'm also not really afraid of b4 because in all endgames, those pawns become targets. Okay, bishop d2 voluntarily retreating. I could also voluntarily retreat and transfer my knight. I don't exactly know where I'm going, but he did it, so I should do it. I mean, I think rook h8 is a smart move. This knight can move at some point, like now. I'm gonna go rook h8. I don't think my rook is that useful on f8. I think it's more useful here. I don't exactly know for what, but neither does he. So if he plays there, I can go bishop d6. We could repeat moves. We could repeat moves there. Although, if these pieces come off, I don't know. He's also got a bad isolated pawn. In a lot of these endgames, this pawn could be a problem for him. And, yeah, there's a lot to think about here, as both of us have about 4 minutes. Thought he did play b4, which makes knight c5 a bit more juicy, because at least he could take with the b pawn. That is pretty smart. I don't know if that was the idea, but... now, I gotta think. Knight c5, takes. Where do I want my pieces to end up? If I go knight d8, knight c5, I might not have to even take on c5, but chances are I'll have to take on c5. What I'm thinking. So let's... Knight can jump back and then pressure d4. Kind of an annoying move. a5, knight c5. Okay. I'm starting to see that this is a bit of a problem. I'm gonna go here, but I'm not thrilled about it. To try to rotate, maybe? Like, yeah, that was a good plan. To take with the b pawn and try to attack me on the b file. Having said that, that is definitely White's best piece. Wow. Okay, it's a long setup to get what he wants. Queen b5 is an interesting move, I think. This was an idea I had for a while. I couldn't tell if this was smart or really stupid, but trying to trade the queen, so now White can't attack my king ever, which means my king is safe, and by doubling my own b pawn, I actually create a very strong structure, and he doesn't want to trade. Look at that. Is a4 a thing? Knight f7. Now I actually could go b6, by the way. I might do it. I might play b6. This is crazy. Yeah, knight f7's the other idea. Yeah, I'm just not going to let him get what he wants. Knight c5 was his main idea for a while now. So I'm going to make him regret not playing it. Make him come up with something new. I got a really solid structure, but I'm not 100% certain of my position. Like, it's not bulletproof. There's still plenty of blunders that can happen. Okay, let's go knight f7. Ugh. Could be a knight c3 somewhere here. Like there. Okay, takes. So e6 is hanging. c7 could be a weakness. Queen d5 trades queens again. Queen d5 trades queens again. But do I want a queen trade? Or should I just be active? Oh, then rook e6, I guess. Actually, rook e6 is a problem no matter what, because even if I play queen d5... Oh, no. That's a bit of a problem. I really don't want to play this again. Okay, it's not pretty, but I think I have to. I think I have to play this move. Yeah, this is becoming super unpleasant now. I think d5 is the best move. I think you gotta... Oh, but... I think you gotta sack the pawn and activate the bishop. But I was gonna say... Yeah, I think that's too slow. I think that lets me play queen d5 again. Like, I would love to block the... Yeah, and he's not trading. He's threatening this. Question is, do I care about it? I mean, probably. It's a pawn. Feels kind of silly to just give it away for no reason, so let's play this. And his bishop isn't that good. But if he takes... I don't know exactly what I'm taking with. He wants c7. Let's play bishop d6. b8. Again, I'm really hesitant to leave my post here. But if he plays e5, d5, I could go e5 maybe. It's very scary. I don't want to break apart my pawns. I think I want my pawns more together. It seems like the right thing to do in the endgame. But at the same time, ba keeps his bishop out of the game, so I don't know. Also, he's going to rotate his knight. At some point, he's going to realize his knight sucks, and he's going to rotate it around. And that could be very annoying, because that knight is going to exert some serious pressure on my position. And maybe when he does, I will try to break in with my rook, but I'm not fast enough. I need like 2 more pushes to get rid of the h-pawn to attack his king. Very tense position. Very tense. A lot to think about here. Okay, he has taken... This is really going to be like a split-second decision. I mean... Queen a5, knight d2, knight f7, knight c4, queen b5, or knight e4, queen f5. Oh my god, I just don't know. I just don't know. I'm gonna play queen a5. I mean, I just actually don't know. I think it makes more sense to keep my pawns together, but and not have like a loner a pawn. Knight d2, I think, is the best move. It really strikes me as the smartest thing to do here for white. Yeah, and then there it is. So now I gotta come up with something smart myself. Let's go knight f7. It feels like it safeguards my king. Knight c4. Maybe I don't need to be so scared of an exchange, as long as I can continue to keep his bishop out of the game. That might be the only way for me here. Like queen f. What am I doing here? Queen d5, knight c3. Let's do this. Let's keep it all. Knight c3. I think I really want this queen trade. I really want this queen trade. And I'm probably gonna take with what? G? Yeah, probably G, right? E just, why would I do that? Allowing this? I don't know. It's probably G. Gotta be G. And maybe some attack in the future. I don't know. There's knight b5. c7's under attack. I have rook c8. I don't really want to play this move, but I might not really have a choice. Or should I be more active? Wow, this is so complicated. Oh, no. If I move my rook, then I lose my e-pawn. Oh, God. Okay. I mean, that doesn't look very pleasant at all to play that move. I guess I'm gonna do it, but this knight is too active. Rook c6, rook a8, rook a5. Do I have knight d8? Knight d8 here? I'm gonna go knight d8. He's coming. That's the annoying thing. He's about to be all up in my territory. Maybe I have knight a5. Or rook c8, like just trying to be stubborn defensively. Just rook c8, knight a7, rook a8. Time is going to be so important. It's going to come down to a very small miscalculation this game. Like one of us is just going to slip up like for half a second and it's going to be over. Okay, I'm going to play rook c8. I mean, this is so ugly. Really not having a great time here trying to defend this position. So rook b6 is a threat? What actually is the threat? Okay, let's go here. Knight d6, knight d8, rook b6. Had better positions in my life. All right, I'm gonna go knight here. I only have 10 seconds. I don't really see how I'm gonna defend this position. Let's go rook a8. Is this rook trapped? Oh my. Did I trap the rook by accident? I got out of... Wow. Wow. That's crazy. I'm defending the pawn and the rook is not pinned anymore and the, oh my, okay, now I have 10 seconds. I spent way too much time. Okay, we gotta keep it moving here. Let's go rook a5. Jesus, this is nuts. We go from trying to hold this game to trying to win it. I mean, these shifts are the absolute craziest because your brain's just not expecting it at all. And he might like not stabilize. He might just go crazy and try to trick me or do some wild stuff. And it could also backfire. But now I just have to really stabilize this position and just breathe. Just breathe. Maybe even bring my king. As stupid as that might be. You gotta make like quick plans now too. Which is so difficult. Okay, what is that? Where's he going? What if I just play king f7? He can't leave his bishop because that pawn's just gonna hang. He could just play h4, yeah. It's actually funny, he could just do that. Okay, king e8 and king d7. And I might be able to hold the pawn. Actually, I have f4, which is pretty funny. Let's finish our king walk so that the rook has some mobility. And what are we trying to accomplish now? Rook e8. I'm gonna trade rooks. I think that's the way to try to win this game, is to trade the rooks like this. I think that will be winning, but I'm not positive. But I'm gonna try my best. Okay, knight d6. Is this winning for me or not? It feels like it should be. This pawn will get to h6. Ooh, but not if you play that move, right? Can't I play rook h8? Yeah, now you're not going to get to h6. Ah, that was the idea. But now my king is so active. Man, I don't know what is happening. E4 or f4? I'm going to go f4. This seems completely correct. Yeah, just shutting out the bishop in the endgame probably is the way to go here. Somehow still not over. Man. This is so crazy. Okay, let's just go e4. I know I just said I want to shut out the piece, but I think I also need to rely on my strengths in the position. I think I'm going king f5. I think I'm good now. I think nothing can move, which really helps. Let's go to a8 to try to win this pawn. And on bishop b2, we'll slide right back onto the b file with rook b8 and rook b3. And we should just be easily winning now. But we still need to be precise. Okay. Oh, I have rook g3, rook g5. Rook g3, king f2, rook g5, takes, king f3. Oh, no. That's not winning. That's not winning. I thought it was winning, but I don't think it is. Oh my god. Whew. Okay. Okay, let's push you. This is craziness. I don't think I messed this up. I think this is still a win. Check. Rook g5 takes. No, let's go d4. This is nuts. I'm just pushing all of my pawns here. Okay, d3. What is happening? If h6, then I take. If h6, then I take the g pawn. If g7, I take the pawn. And I think I'm just threatening to go d2. And it should just be a win. And if the bishop abandons the pawns, then I think I have king g5. Yeah, I think I have king g5 now. Right? Like this. g7, king h5. I think. Like this. Is there bishop f8? There's that. Okay. Here, everything's chill. Now rook g7 should just win for me. King h7 or rook g7. Let's do this. Of course, you can't take my rook. Now I go here. and king f5, so you can't take my pawn? Oh my god. D2 should win. D2. And that's it. And if you take, then I have rook d7. Oh, we did it. This one, totally all over the place. It's a Queen's Gambit accepted. This has been in my repertoire for a long time. I've played this for years. Against e4, I've used to play b5. I know about e5. I've played knight c6 and knight f6. Yeah, here the two, I was actually shocked by this. These two moves are played 99% of the time. My opponent played a move which just isn't played, which probably tells me that he improvised the move e4. You know, even title players can improvise and sometimes not know the theory fully. But the position we got actually was completely normal. Now, right here is really where the questions begin. Like, what is the best plan for black? Should I try to stockpile my pressure on the d4 pawn, or should I try to get something to d5? Now, the only reason knight d5 is not wonderful is because he just takes it. He just takes this pawn, the knight. And if I play queen takes, he immediately comes in with the bishop. So what I want on d5 is a knight, right? So like knight b4 to try to bring the knight on d5. The only reason I didn't go for this like faster is because I'm just not super familiar with the position. I just thought, okay, well, queen d2. I mean, I don't understand. I'm never taking this bishop, as I mentioned in the game. I just don't see a reason to take it, because it seems like it only helps him. He'll just bring his second rook, maybe try to shove d5 down my throat. But this is the best way for black to play the position. Like, for all my analysis that I did after the engine, knight before knight d5 is basically the only way. If I slow play it as I did in the game, what he's going to do, h3 is not super accurate, a3 is more accurate, because now I don't have knight b4 anymore, right? So queen d7 and bringing my rook and like slow playing like this, it doesn't work. It's not the right way to play the position. So now I know for the future, and now I'm slightly worse. And during the game, I was like, well, you know, I can take, but I felt like I didn't want this pressure, although I still have this knight b4 idea. I decided to kind of bolster my king with the double pawn. The problem is, I gave white everything this way. He still gets this knight to e4, and now is clearly better. So I misplayed the position. But then here I was shocked to know that my idea to then take back with the g-pawn was the top engine suggestion. That, to me, was fascinating. That I was creating some sort of imbalance even with these really weak pawns. I still felt like knight h4 was the critical test of my position, and then here I was ready to play this move. The king hugs all the pawns. Like I said, it's important to know that knight c5 is not really the way to go, because this trade is good for me. The rook threatens no one. It's just not worth, right? It's not worth it. It's not worth doing this. And dc completely stops the initiative. Now there is no initiative. Black is actually better after one pawn capture, because the whole position for white is now frozen. You can't make any forward progress without pawns or really powerful piece outposts. And there's no progress with pawns anymore. I'm totally dominating. I will be making progress with pawns. So in the game, we got rook e1. I went rook e8, a3, king g7. There was kind of a little bit of shuffling here. This whole b4 plan, a little bit suspect. I'm not sure about it. The problem is I don't have a lot of movement. So when I offered this queen trade, which I thought was instructive, there is no way you can make this trade. I think black is better if we make this trade structurally, because let's also not forget that this a3 pawn is going to be a big weakness, whereas my c pawn is not a weakness at all. It's defended, and also I can always play c6. I wouldn't, because my knight would get stuck, but of course he didn't trade. I played this to prevent the knight from coming in, and we have another critical moment here. Very smart decision by my opponent to trade my knight off. I take, and then I try to blockade on d5 a few moves later like this. Again, you don't want to trade. And now, as I kept mentioning, the reroute. The reroute was really going to decide this game. And a5 apparently was a bad move. I thought a5 was a smart move. Engine really likes this. I didn't want to mimic the structure. I felt like my a-pawn could become weak here, but computer seems to not be afraid of this. Also, the knight on c4 will never arrive there. But the knight could arrive on c5. So, or, you know, c5. It was really a game of defense. I was playing defense the entire game because I slightly misplayed the middle game. And I was defending actually very decently, believe it or not. Like all this stuff, like all this, the queen trade. I'm always slightly worse, but I'm always still in the game. And then here the time just got low and I was running out of moves. I was suffocating. Like look at this. I mean, all my space is being taken away, and yet I still have play. Instead of playing super passively, I actually could have been a little bit more aggressive. So for example, if all this stockpiles, my rook can create counterplay on the queen side, but I can't really blame myself considering I had a minute. And then, yeah, here I just,
my opponent got hasty. This is actually a very good lesson. Opponent did this because it's a very common thing when two rooks press into one like this. There's always going to be a tactic to sack the rook and win the rook behind it. Very common if you have 2 versus 1 on the same straightaway and these rooks aren't coordinated in their defense. But what the opponent had to do was remove my only bit of counterplay. My only move of counterplay is bishop to f4, and that's why g3 is required. And at this point, the engine already wants me to just lash out with this pawn and try to hold on to it. He allowed me to get the only move that doesn't lose, and then here, the most ridiculous trap of the rook ever. I mean, that is absurd, how lucky that is. And I didn't see it when I played it. I just played a move out of inertia. Like, I was going to lose on time, so I was like, all right, I got to play knight d8. The engine actually finds knight a5, which attacks the rook. The difference between the two is that there is no rook c4, so now rook c3 would allow me to play c6, and now the knight is almost trapped. It has, like, no moves. So g3, and I would move my rook and take the knight. It's, or even back here. It's crazy. Somehow the opponent got super close, but just couldn't make it work, which is why even when it's like right there, you just got to take the counterplay away. There's no rush. I think the endgame was converted more or less seamlessly, although I haven't analyzed it, to be honest. This is my first time looking. Yeah, it doesn't like my king walk. I mean, it thinks that I should probably keep 2 rooks on the board, which is not what I did in the game. In the endgame, we ended up going for this mass trade, and this is probably more drawish if he plays h5. Yeah, so he probably needs to get this pawn to h6 and defend it from a distance. Well, I guess in this case he would take first, but he didn't, and I stopped it. And then he just took too long, and I activated my king and my pawns. And I think this was very important. And was e4 the best move? No, of course not. I thought that this was a good move. Yeah, computer just wants to go here and then take. And yeah, when you have like 30 seconds on the clock, this looks mildly terrifying. But take. Oh, sorry, king g2. And just rook a3. Wow, I can stop these pawns? Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's really hard to calculate with, 15 seconds or however much time I had that I just stopped the pawns in time. I decided to play e4 and just bring my king closer. And of course, this allows me to get real close. Computer is still looking for like ways to save it. I think for a human, this is borderline unsavable. And it really helps that I actually pushed my pawns. Like, I'm constantly looking to sacrifice. So for example, I'm always looking to sack into a 2 versus 0, but I never had an opportunity. Right here, for example, if I play rook g5, I almost get a 2 on 0, but this is a draw. The king is too close to my other pawn. So I was desperately looking how to convert this, and I managed to get it into an endgame where I just have enough tactical firepower. Because if I didn't, even this is winning, because this is a light scored pawn. But if I didn't have this, and for example, I lost my pawn, then this is just simply a draw. So yeah, we got the win. So 4 in a row now in our training games. Hope you're all enjoying, and in the next episode, I will have a lamp. I'm slowly just losing parts of the overlay. First I lost the clocks, then I lost the lamp. Next time I won't have any electricity. But 4 wins in a row, not too bad.